Thank you to all our attendees joining us so far. We're just going to allow another minute or two as our attendees filter in from the waiting room before we get started, if you bear with us. Thank you. Okay, hello everyone and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Laura Egan O'Brien. I'm the Marketing Manager for the College of Engineering and Architecture here in UCD. I'm going to be your host for today's session. So whether you're joining us from near or far, we're really happy to have you with us, and hopefully we'll give you an engaging and informative webinar today. The webinar today is all about study opportunities and kind of future careers within our School of Electrical Electronic Engineering. I'll be joined by some of our academic program directors who'll give an overview of their various master's programs and two of our current students to talk about their experience so far. Before we get started, just a reminder that if you do have questions today, please feel free to type them in using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We'll try to get through as many of the questions we can in the time that the session allows us, and we'll answer them towards the end of the session after our speakers have had a chance to go through their overviews. Also keep an eye on the chat, as my colleague Niamh, who's also joining us today, will pop up any useful links at times in the chat there, so keep an eye. And then lastly, just to let you know that we are recording the session today. So if you miss anything or need to leave early, or know of someone who couldn't attend today but would find the content engaging or interesting, that will be the recording will be shared with everyone who registered for the session today, and it will also be available on our college YouTube channel early next week. So that's really all for me. So before we get started, just to say a big thank you for joining us. We'll get a chance to answer any of your questions at the end of the session today, and we hope that you'll find it really interesting. So the first up we have is Professor Mark Flanagan, who's our Program Director for our ME in Electronic and Computer Engineering. So I'm going to pass you over to Mark.
Thanks, Laura. I'm just sharing my screen here. I hope everyone can see it. Can you see the slideshow?
Yeah, it's not in full screen mode, but we can see it if you want to just go from the slideshow.
Should be transitioning
Yeah.
at this point. Anyway,
I'll get
going because I only have a few minutes. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about the ME program that we have here in electronic and computer engineering. So just to give a little bit of history, I guess, that we as a school would have focused in the past on integrated circuit design, electronic design, and this kind of thing. Whereas now the ME has broadened out towards electronics and computers. In other words, hardware and software, because in the modern world, really most work on hardware now involves a computer, but it's embedded processor or linked to a processor. It's important for engineers to kind of have that understanding spanning the electronic world and also the software side of things. So as a graduate of the ME program, I guess you can work in at many different levels and many different industries. You can work as an IC designer on the analog side or digital side. You can work on algorithms, signal processing, and machine learning, or you could work at sort of at a higher scale at system design, thinking about how all the different blocks go together to form the system. Just in terms of a little bit about the ME program, there's a set of core modules which are really things that every electronic and computer engineer needs to know about, like optimization, control, how wireless and digital systems work, etc. And then there's also a very long list of options, so you can kind of tailor what you want to study in your ME. So for example, you can see on the right hand side there a list of, so quite a long list, and it's not exhaustive of the options we have available. So really it's kind of showing that you can focus, if you like, apart from the core modules, on whatever interests might lie. So for example, you might want to be an IC designer and you might want to work on analog and mixed signal ICs. You might like to study the signal processing side, information theory, machine learning, into the communications, digital communications and wireless networking. And some emerging topics you see we covered there, like quantum computing, that are, maybe more cutting edge. And it shows a little bit of the variety, I would say, of the modules on offer, and reflecting, I would say, the variety jobs in which you can transit after the ME. I just mentioned as well, there's the ME project and work placement shown in red there. The project is a kind of a high-level master's project, which is quite I would say a difficult project in the sense that you are expected to work autonomously and produce a kind of a piece of research, if you like, to extend the state of the art in some way. And part of that will be producing, for example, a conference paper, which is of the standard that could be submitted to an international conference. So we do have a high expectation in terms of project. And then finally, just say a little bit the work placement. So normal work placement would be 30 credits. It takes place in the first year of the 2-year ME. And it would go on for something like between 6 to 8 months normally. And it's a structured work placement, so you do apply for the job the same way you would in real life, so to speak, but it is structured. So you will be brought through the CV writing process, all that kind of thing. And we have obviously a very large variety of projects which are situated certainly in the focus of ME of the electronic and computer engineering that are situated in Ireland, many multinational and local companies. And we have, for example, Analog Devices, Intel, Synopsys, etc. You see many companies, and these are just the snapshot of the companies in which our students are placed at the moment. Again, any more questions on how the ME the ME program works, how the work placements work, I'll be happy to take questions at the end of the session. So I'll stop sharing now and we can move on.
Great, thank you very much, Mark. So now we're going to move on to Dr. Paul Cuff, who's our Program Director for our MNJC in Electrical Power Networks.
Super, thank you, Laura. So this is a 1-year master's program. It's a little bit more focused, and its topic is very much electrical power networks. So we very much see that as we make the world more sustainable and roll out ever more renewable energy and begin to electrify transport, and the heart of all of that is electrical power networks that are going to move all that energy around the place. So this is a relatively new offering. It's a focused 1-year full-time in-person MNJC 1-year masters, and it's delivered over the full 3 trimesters sequentially. And it's there to provide that fundamental understanding, the design and operation of electrical power networks. So the engineering of electrical power networks, embodying specialist modules on those topics and rounding out the fundamentals around that, but the focus on transmission and distribution of electricity. So this is a 1-year MNJC, and the typical profile of an incoming student will be someone who has a 4-year undergraduate degree, 2-1 or better, in an engineering degree, and having encountered electrical concepts before. So it could be a 4-year degree in electrical engineering, that would be great, or electronic engineering, or perhaps it's something a little bit broader, that there are now many degrees in energy engineering and sustainability engineering, topics like that. But if you've met electricity before, that will be the profile we'd expect. So just to talk you through the program structure, it's quite a compact program structure to talk through. So the autumn trimester started September, 12 teaching weeks, and these are the core modules. So 2 very much focused on electricity networks, power system operation, and determining which generators are going to generate when, dynamics and control of power systems. That's understanding the stability, at a millisecond level of power grids, and some general context around that control theory. So not as explicitly focused on electrical networks, but theoretical context, and then optimization techniques. It appears in every field of engineering, but very much so within power engineering. Decisions about which generators are going to operate. That's the bedrock of electricity markets, is in fact optimization techniques. So we see that one as being absolutely core. And then we have a slate of 4 option modules from which there's the freedom to pick 2. So power electronics technology, power electronics and drives, are both very much about how to use semiconductor devices for significant levels of power, and then a bit more contextual numerical algorithms, a bit of background. Then renewable energy systems is all about wind and solar and all that good stuff. So that's our autumn trimester. So 6 modules there. In spring, we have 2 core: power system design. How do we design the assets, the components that go into a transmission grid? And applications of power electronics is very much about using those semiconductor devices at the grid scale. And then we have well, it looks like a big choice, but it's not. You've got a slate of 5 and you're picking 4. So to phrase it another way, you're picking 1 to not do. So data science and Python, that'll be more contextual. Energy economics and policy, you'll see that's coming from our colleagues in the School of Economics. That's why it's got the econ module code on it. Very essential, to understand anything about a power grid. The regulation and the market aspects are absolutely huge. So we're very pleased that we can integrate that module. Contextual modeling and simulation. Again, well, we run load flow calculations, we run dynamic calculations, we do all kinds of simulations of power grids. So modeling and simulation very relevant. And then 2 somewhat, shall we say, softer modules or more general modules, technical communication and professional engineering. That's about allowing yourself to influence stakeholders and go into industry and have a successful career. And then the final module happens in the summer trimester. And so it's a 30 credit dissertation project. It's a capstone. So you'll be in here working for the summer, and you'll be working with an assigned academic supervisor, and myself or one of my colleagues working in the electrical engineering side, power engineering, working on an applied research project, in the broad field of electric power networks. And that gets written up as a big thesis, which gets graded, and that's how you earn the 30 credits. And then all going well, if you've passed all the modules and passed the capstone project, please God, at the end of it, then you graduate and you get that 1-year master's degree. So that's all I've got to say.
Great, thank you so much, Paul. So next up we have is Associate Professor Terence O'Donnell, who's going to give you an overview of his program, which is their ME in Electrical Power Engineering.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Perhaps I could just, share the screen. So I'm talking about our 2-year program in ME, the Electrical Power Engineering, and I guess this is quite similar in content to the program which Paul has already presented in the previous presentation, except that this is a 2-year master's program. The technical content is similar, so it is very much focused on power systems, power system analysis and design. Power electronics is a big part of the modern power grid. Got a strong focus on sustainable power systems, renewable energy, electricity market operation. Those are all the sort of topics that you would be covering in this master's. The specific modules would be very similar to the modules which Paul has already presented in the previous program description, except as I say, the key here is this is a 2-year master's program. And in terms of its structure, it's structured over 2 years, as you can see here on this slide. So you would start in the autumn trimester, do 6 taught modules for that first 12-week autumn trimester. Then in the spring trimester, you would start a work placement. That work placement would run typically through the spring trimester and the summer trimester. The work placement is organized through the university here. And that would be your year 1 of the master's program. Your year 2 of the program would be, again, start in the autumn trimester of year 2. And again, you would do 4 taught modules in the first trimester typically, and 3 taught modules in the second trimester, in the spring trimester. But the other important thing you would do in year 2 is the thesis project. And this would be typically a project, with quite a high research content. The topic would depend very much on the research interests of the academics which teach in this program. That covers a wide range of topics from, power electronics in the grid to various aspects of renewable energy systems and the operation of power systems. And I guess, as I say, the distinguishing feature between this 2-year program and the 1-year program previously presented is the work placement, which happens in year 1. And this is just to give you sort of some idea of the range of companies which our students have went on work placement with over recent years. So we have I would say at the moment, with considering the energy transition and the policy towards decarbonization of the energy system, and especially in Europe, targets for 2030 and 2050. There's a sort of a great demand for electrical engineering and electrical engineering skills in the workforce in order to sort of succeed with that transition. And so, at the moment, as I say, there's quite a demand really for electrical engineering graduates. And these are just a range of companies that our graduates have gone on placement with. For example, we have companies such as EirGrid or ESB, which run the power grid in Ireland. We have other companies that are more related to energy supply, so like companies like SSE, Energia. We have some other companies there. For example, Supernode is a company based in Ireland doing some very innovative work on superconducting cables. Or SmartWire is another company based in Ireland doing some very innovative work on controlling the power flow within power grids. I won't go through all of the companies there, but that's just to give you some idea that there is indeed a wide range of companies looking for the graduates from this program. And what quite often happens with our master's programs is that students who go on work placement with these companies are quite often offered a position with the company afterwards after they graduate. I'll leave it there. That's sort of a brief summary, I guess, of the program.
Great. Thank you so much, Terence. And we're going to move on now to a bit more of the student experience. So first up we're going to have is Eva, who's one of our current students in our ME in in electronic and computer engineering, sorry.
Hi guys, so my name is Eva, and like Laura said, I'm doing the electronic and computer ME. This is my first year, so currently, as it was mentioned, I'm doing my work placement. And I think that's one of the main reasons why everyone picks this degree, is because work placement is obviously really good for your CV and for industry experience. I'm working here in Analog Devices at the minute, and I'm pretty sure, like Terence just said there, that yeah, I will be offered a graduate opportunity, which is great. I'll have a job set. And one thing I've noticed is that because I study in UCD, we're very employable. I was told by HR myself that they're looking to get UCD interns because we just know a lot. We have a lot of experience because I've done my undergrad in UCD. So we do learn a lot and we have a lot of skills. And I've noticed like so many softwares that we're using in Analog, I already know how to use, great coding experience and stuff like that. But because we do have a lot of knowledge, that means that it's a full-on degree. Like there is a lot to it and we don't really get a lot of social breaks. But I think that's as expected with an engineering degree. One thing though is that the lectures are really, really, really helpful. The amount of hours I spent in all of my lecturers' offices, them explaining stuff to me, it really makes life easier. And everyone, because it's so full on, everyone kind of comes together and we all work on stuff together. We all help each other out. Like you're not a lone wolf in this degree. Misery loves suffering, or yeah, suffering loves whatever. But yeah, I do like it. I think you're very employable at the end of the day, and that's what matters, and you gain a lot of experience. Like the choice of modules in my degree is insane. And I don't think it's just like, if you do opt for this degree, I don't think it's just a strong academic choice, but you genuinely grow personally and professionally, which I found myself to be. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Eva. And thank you for taking time out of your work placement day to speak to us here. So we're going to move on now to our other student, who is Rowan. So he is one of our current students in our MNGC in electronic and computer engineering, so our one-year program. Rowan, it's over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. So, hey guys, I'm Rohan from India. Yeah, like Laura said, I'm from the MNGC program, which is a one-year program focusing on both those subjects in a clear way. So, I chose this master's because I wanted to strengthen my understanding on concepts like embedded systems and Also some computer concepts like networks, coding languages like Python, Java, all of these go hand in hand with what I want to do. So, I think the main advantage that this course holds is the flexibility it provides in choosing what type of masters you want to do, what way you want to go in. So, UCD holds a big advantage in that way, where we get to choose subjects which might even be outside the program, but if it fulfills some kind of criteria, you can choose them, so there's no need to choose the ones that you already have within them. So the overall experience for me has been quite good. The modules are structured in a way where the first few weeks are always it starts from the basic and then builds on them. So you don't have to worry about not knowing something, as these courses always cover from the starts and then go into some more complex details. So that's fine. The assignments that you do here, I think they really add value to your CV, because uh, you can use them as a learning experience for these interviews, where they will ask you about them, and you can explain it in a way that they'll actually be impressed. So that's a way to you know add value to your CV. And the teaching here is quite detailed. All the professors are always available. I used to drop mails at on Saturdays or Sundays, and I used to get and replies very soon. So there's no issues with that as well. Like I found no issues with that. So that is fine. And actually, one of the main things at the start for my program was UCD held some graduate fairs that where we get to speak to many different companies and ask them about what skills you might need to hone up on, or what you might need to build so that you can crack those interviews. So I found that very helpful. In the start itself, we get to speak to all these different companies and know about them mainly. So I think those were like a few good things. So when I applied to this course, I did apply to some of the scholarships like Global Excellence Scholarship and the Government of Ireland Scholarship. Although I didn't get those, I did end up getting another one called the International Student Scholarship. So that was based on my previous work experience and my education grades. So I would encourage the international students out there to work on their profile and know which scholarships they can avail, because there's a lot of them out there which you can actually go through and look. So that's about the scholarships. So I came to Ireland last September. It was pretty tricky in the start to navigate with all the different things out here, but UCD like has a lot of help out there. You can just ask anyone. They'll tell you that UCD gives a lot of help to the international students. So there's no things about that. UCD also has a lot of clubs and societies. So in the start there were like so many societies. I was generally shocked to see so many societies out there. I actually joined the engineering society over here, and I found it quite useful because they have many events where they call ambassadors from the companies to come and talk and maybe give some info into what goes on in the company. So that's another avenue where you can explore and hone up your skills on. So that's about it. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much, and thank you to all our speakers for the insights into the programs. So we're going to move on now to the kind of Q&A section of the webinar today. So as I mentioned at the start, if any of our attendees do have questions, please feel free to type them in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get through as many as we can. So you can just start typing them in there. I had included a question on the registration form, just if there was any questions that people wanted answered in the webinar. So I might move on to those. I'm just going to move on to gallery view, so just everyone can see everyone. There was one or two questions kind of related to the kind of workload. So maybe Eva or Rowan, if you wanted to comment on maybe the workload transitioning from an undergrad studies to a master's studies, and if you found the workload was, a lot increased, or how the kind of workload is spread out between the kind of transition from one to the other.
I think, like I said, you have a lot of choice in my degree, which is the computer and electronic one. You have a lot of choice in your modules. Well, I've only experienced the study side of it for one semester. And I think it very much depends on which modules you choose. The workload will always be like, you will always have stuff to be doing, and there will always be assignments. This semester I didn't have a lot of exams at all. So that means I had 5 or 6 finals. So it does get really stressful at the end of the semester. I think it just depends on which modules you choose, because some will have more work to do. I took this one module, mixed signal, integrated circuit, something like that, and you had a lab report and a homework every single week. So it is, and a project on top of that. So it is a bit of work. But yeah, it is the workload is quite significant, but that's why you learn so much, and you really are grateful when you get into the industry that you know so much, and you're kind of like, I'm happy I took all the modules where I learned so much. Yeah. Thanks,
Hey,
Laura.
thank you. Yeah, no worries. Thank you. And then we just had an open question around scholarships. So yes, you can apply for scholarships now if you are an international non-EU student. If you have an offer for a program, you can apply for scholarships. Rowan, you touched on scholarships a little bit, but maybe you wanted to expand on how you found applying for scholarships. And my colleague Neve will also pop a link to the chat to our Global Scholarships webpage as well for anyone who's interested to look at that.
Yeah, so about the scholarships, I mean, there were some open points there, like the Global Excellence Scholarship. That's you can find that, I think, in the place that you apply for the program. So that's there, it's right there itself. And that mainly is on how you express how much you want the scholarship and what you, I mean, why you deserve the scholarship. So if, I suggest you guys to, go through what actually you want to do and how it inspires you to do that program. So that's how it'll build your, how much you can get the scholarship for. So.
Great, thank you. And Neve popped the link in the chat, so grab that there if anyone's thinking about applying for a scholarship. And then we've got a question here, Mark, I might throw this to you, just around the MNGC and the ME students. Do they attend the same classes for electronic and computer engineering, or is there overlap or synergy between the two programs?
Yeah, so the MNGC is a one-year program which is also focused on electronics and computers. Whereas the ME, the main difference of the ME is it's a longer program with the built-in work placement, and then the project is a two-trimester project, so essentially spans an academic year. It's a very sort of it's a big piece of work. Whereas in the MNGC, the project is a summer project, which takes place after the modules are completed. You have a summer where you've got nothing else to do except intensively work on your project, which is done in 3 months. So it's not expected that the project would reach the same level. But in terms of modules that students attend, they can be very similar. The list of projects available in the MNGC is very wide and encompasses most of the modules are actually available in the ME, but you can take them obviously within the 1 year, you can take them whenever they're offered. I mean, whether it's autumn or spring, you have the option to take, I mean, most of our modules just whenever suits. But yeah, it's not really so much that the level is significantly higher. I mean, the same modules are taken by both students in many cases, but it's more that the ME is more comprehensive and it involves the work placement and the project component.
Okay, great. And I assume that's probably very similar with the 1 year and the 2 year in electrical power as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
exactly
Same pattern.
Great. And then for across the programs, a question we always get asked is just around the research projects. Is there opportunities to engage in a more kind of industry-based project, or for the research topic, is it something that students have to choose themselves, or are they presented with a suite of options, or how does that work for students?
So it can work. I mean, normally most of the projects are projects that will be proposed by the academics, and those projects will be aligned with the research interests of the academics. We do indeed have an option for students to propose their own project. And sometimes what happens is that students who have gone on work placement and have gotten a certain amount of experience in a certain area on their work placement in the 2-year ME program, they may want to continue into some sort of deeper research project in that area. And so that is an option which is open to students. They can propose their own research project in an area.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then there was another question just on the registration was, how do programs within UCD, or do programs within UCD adapt or change to what's going on in industry or trends within the various disciplines? Does that change the content of the programs?
Well, I'll just say for the MNGC Electrical Power Networks, it's a relatively new master's and very much formulated in response to industry needs. Seeing particularly in Ireland, there's a huge demand for electrical engineers with specific grid expertise. So that, you know, there's huge projects going on, building big wind farms, all the interconnection arrangements for them, big solar farms, big battery developments, interconnectors, subsea to other countries. You know, all this stuff happening around the grid. Then within the grid itself, there's various upgrades happening. So, you know, huge appetite in that sector in Ireland for engineers, you know, either working on the grid itself or interacting with it. You know, we could see loud and clear the demand for graduates with that skill set. And that's why we said let's offer this focused program specifically to develop those skills.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, I think that's really good for people to know on the webinar today. There is a question just from someone wanting to know more about work opportunities after completion of the degree. So they didn't mention which specific one, but I don't know if you wanted to talk about kind of typically where your graduates are going now, and how easy maybe they're finding to find jobs at the moment.
Well, I guess on the ME electronic and computer side, our graduates are having a great time finding jobs. I mean, for one thing, the companies they work with on internship are very often offering jobs on completion. So they will kind of, in fact, what happens is the student goes on work placement and they come back to us for another year, and the companies usually get anxious that the students will now get other offers within that year, so they usually want to hold on to the students. Yeah, I mean, I showed on the slide there a bunch of companies that the students are, you know, there are many of the major global multinational companies situated in software side and also in electronic design, situated in Dublin, for example, and also in other areas in Cork and other parts of Ireland. You know, there's a high demand for electronic engineers in general, both on the software and hardware side. So I think it's whatever students want to focus on within the degree, they'll find a good option at the end. As I say, many of the most of the students who are on placement are actually being offered positions after they graduate by that same company. They may or may not take that offer up.
That's great. I'm sure that'll give students a lot of comfort to know there's great job opportunities out there. Sorry, Terence, you were going to say something.
Yeah, no, just to add to that, for the electrical engineering side, a similar situation, but possibly it is worth pointing out that traditionally a lower number of students have done the electrical option compared to the electronic option. And with what's happening today with the whole sort of focus on decarbonization of the energy system, there's a massive demand for electrical engineers. And so we have something, I think, of a supply demand imbalance at the moment in terms of our supply of electrical engineers is still quite low, but the demand has been rising very significantly.
Okay, great. And then there was just a question here regarding work placements. So Eva, I might throw it to you because you're on your work placement at the moment. How do students select or opt for an internship or the organization that they end up going to? And what kind of support does UCD provide in securing these opportunities? So if you want to talk about the process of going on internship.
Yeah. Well, it was a bit different for me because I already interned in analog devices last summer, and I think again it's because I study in UCD, it's quite easy. Well, not easy, but like it does help to find internships because we're so highly recognized. And then I liked it so much that I just applied to analog devices and not really anywhere else for the co-op. And I got a lot of offers within analog devices for different positions because I have a lot of experience from all the modules I did in UCD. But I know a lot of my friends found the whole process really easy and great. Like UCD just has this website where we go on to and see all the relevant internships that we can apply for, and then they ask you what you need, a CV or a cover letter, and I know a lot of people were happy with the placements they got. A lot of people got AMD and stuff like that. It's relatively easy, and UCD does help you. Like you will never be stuck for not having an internship. If you can't find one yourself, UCD will reach out on your behalf. So yeah, I think I wouldn't be worried about the work placement at all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's great. So yours was a little bit different than I think the typical route.
Yeah.
I think most students, we have 2 internship managers within our college who do a lot of the relationship building with these companies and put together a suite of opportunities so students can apply for. And I think as Mark mentioned in his slides at the start, students kind of apply for these jobs just like they would in the real world, but I suppose it's within the safety of the confines of the program itself, and students are presented with opportunities to apply for. So obviously if they do really well putting together their CV, their resume, they put, you know, they do a really good job at the interview, they're more likely to get their first choice. But typically students will get an opportunity to go with one of the companies that we present them with through our internship managers. They kind of do that process. Normally they start in the September when students start. So it kind of happens very quickly and students hit the ground running. But yeah, no, it's a really good opportunity. And I think any student who's just, you know, deciding whether to do a 1 year or 2 year program, potentially that master's, the 2 year program with the internship could swing them, because it is a great opportunity. But we have students who do the 1 year programs and do really well career wise. UCD does have a lot of career development kind of information for students and development. The team there in our career development team do a lot of really great work with students to prepare them for the world of work post-degree. So I don't know, Rowan, if you wanted to comment as an international student coming in and a student on a 1 year program who's not doing an internship, but maybe you have engaged with the career development team or any of the career fairs that are on offer, if you wanted to maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So, like, as I mean, I saw the question. So, yeah, in the start itself, I think around October or something, UCD had a few of these graduate fairs where we have those graduate programs, and uh, it doesn't help that it's MNJC because the work placement is in the ME program. But with MNJC, it's not like we learn something completely different. It runs parallelly, so we learn almost the same concepts, and if you choose the right subjects, then it'll build towards that company. But yeah, these fairs are very helpful because you get to talk to the companies upfront and build your CV from that time itself, so that when you apply for these programs, they can maybe see you, and based on your profile, they can select you for those graduate engineer roles or whatever it is you want. So yeah, it's like that.
Right, and I might just get my colleague Neve just to pop a link in the chat to our career development team webpage, because there's a lot of information there for students to look at. They also will indicate they have a jumpstart program, so that's specifically for international students who are coming over and want to get a head start on career planning and making sure that they have their, you know, skill sets and their profile where it should be. So that jumpstart program I would look out for on the careers website is really good, particularly for international students. And we did get a question just around biomedical engineering. Unfortunately, the program director for biomedical engineering wasn't available today. We are looking at putting together a separate webinar specifically on that program. So anyone on here, I will send an email to around that. But if it's a question we can field today, please type it into the chat, or I can engage with you after the webinar today to get that question answered if you want to as well. And then I'll just check if there was any open questions there. For maybe Rowan as well, as an international student, is there any advice you would give to international students looking to come over and make the move to Ireland? Anything that you think that would help them to know while getting settled in and that they should be aware of?
I think UCD offers a lot of help by itself. When you come here, you have these career advisors. So, if you're confused about what you want to do, so there's always help available. You can book appointments and you can ask them to create your CV as well, so they can advise you on how you can change or better build your resume. So, I mean, it's fine. The experience for me has been great, so I don't have any regrets about coming to Ireland about that. So I would definitely recommend anyone who would come to Ireland, rather than people nowadays look at Germany or the US for everything, but there's a lot of competition out there as well. So I think if you come here, there's a lot. I mean, there's a better opportunities here, is what I think.
That's great. Thank you so much, Rowan. I think that's all. If anyone has any further questions, do type them in the chat there. But I think that's all the open questions that we have at the moment. So I think we'll call the webinar there. Thank you very much for everyone who tuned in to us today. I hope you found the webinar very useful, very insightful. If there's any questions after today that you want to follow up with us on, or you need help with making an application or any other resources that you could use, please reach out to us. Don't hesitate to get in contact with us. And my colleague Neve will pop my email address and my colleague Katie's email address in the chat there as well. So you grab that and reach out to us at a later stage if you need that support. But yeah, thank you to all our speakers for giving really great insights as well today. And again, just to remind you that we did record the session today, so that recording will be sent to you early next week or available on our YouTube channel. And again, I'll get my colleague Niamh to pop the college YouTube channel link in the chat as well. But thank you for joining us today. I'll leave the link open just to grab those couple of links Niamh's put in there. But that's all for our webinar today. Thank you. Bye, everyone.